You know, I rarely touch on this subject of Egyptology as it was created back during the early 1800s, when the concept of Egyptology was actually came up created by the British, not the French. I take that back, because the French had a great knowledge of who the Egyptian people were. The ancient Greeks had a knowledge of who the Egyptians were, even described the ancient Egyptians to the T. And they professed that the Egyptians was black, even the playwright Herodotus. Now these people that lived in the Mediterranean, lived in the cities of Athens, and they seen merchant ships come in from Egypt and places all the time. So I guess these philosophers should be counseled then as well, since they say that the Egyptians are black people. So this what they'll say, well, they didn't have a concept of black. Yeah, come on now, come on. No, they didn't have a concept, but they can describe the Egyptians, how they look. And everything they describe as the Egyptian, stock Egyptian, is what they look like, what they didn't look like now. See, this is what they don't want to tell you. Egypt, throughout its history, Egypt has had a long line of invaders. From the Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks after the Persians. Then you had the Macedonians who had control of it. Then after the Macedonians, you had the Romans. And so most of your cities like Alexandria was built by Alexander's the great friend Ptolemy Soter, who was Macedonian. Now, keep in mind, during this time in ancient Egyptian history, you had a lot of people mixing with the ancient Egyptians, especially in the major cities of Thebes, in a lot of the major metropolises like Alexander, Thebes. Well, two of the major metropolises in Egypt at the time. This is before Cairo. You didn't have Cairo, you had Memphis. But other than that, you didn't have no other city. So the urban areas were a melting pot of cultures and people intermingled. So when you go and look at Egypt today, you go to all your major metropolises, you're going to see a mixture of people, whether they be Arabs, whether they be Greeks, whether they be, you have a segment of Sephardic Jews that live in Egypt. You got Coptics, which people always misinterpret, think Coptics are the original people. Nope, they are not. Coptics are the descendants of Greeks. The descendants of Greeks who speak the Coptic language, which is a mix of the ancient Egyptian tongue, the Semitic tongue, not the native tongue. Now you go study the people, and you go to the rural areas, you'll see most of those people look like, they'll say, well, those are Nubians. So you mean to tell me majority of the people living on the countryside, them ain't Egyptians, them Nubians? So they Nubians, huh? Now this is how you destroy their argument, because I've been to Egypt. I used to have debates with Phoenician 7 and Super Egyptian, who was a white boy who ain't never been to Egypt in his life. Ain't never been there. I've been there twice when I was a Muslim to Hajj. So I know how, if you go to your major metropolises like Alexandria, Cairo, Memphis, Giza, you will see most of your population in those urban areas a mixture of everybody. They're a mixture of all the people in them urban areas that came out of Europe, from the Romans to the Greeks to the Arabs to the Turks. These are all the people that mixed in the population. So in your mind, if you're thinking of a stock Egyptian, you're not going to get a stock Egyptian looking at the people in all the inner cities. But you go outside the cities, go outside the major metropolises, you will see people that look like people from Somalia, look like people from Sudan, look like people from Ethiopia, look like people from Southern Sudan. You'll see a lot of Nilotic people who've been there for thousands of years, living in that land for thousands of years. Then you see a few that's Bantu. So you have those people, you go outside in those areas of Egypt that are not urban areas. Then you will see faces that look like I said, the people that I just mentioned, they look like Ethiopians, Somalians, Eritreans, Sudanese, Djiboutians. They look like Manute Bol, Nilotics. You see a lot, you'll see even some Bantus. So the thing is, they want you to think this notion that, the stocky Egyptian is a Semitic-looking person, when the Egyptians themselves wasn't even a Semitic group. They were not Semites. They were not even Asiatics, Afro-Asiatics. They weren't even Afro-Asiatic people. They were a complete people that tell their history out of traveling up the Nile. So I guess Arabs travel all the way from the Central Africa, following the White Nile and the Dark Nile, the Black Nile and the White Nile. Make sense of that when they tell their origin story. They ain't come out no Mediterranean. They tell you their origin story. And people think that they gonna create these fake ass busts of Queen T, Tutankhamun, Ramses. Like these, you got the pictures don't even match the images. Why they gonna put up an image of them looking white? They image of them white, but then they gonna could put up a completely different image on their masks. On the masks that they wear. They wanted them masks to look like them in real life. Because they knew the body was gonna go through decomposition. You know, their body was gonna decompose. They knew that. So that's why they made likenesses of themselves on the masks and the statues that they had. They made likenesses of themselves. How the fuck they gonna make a brown ass skin about my complexion picture, but then go make an image of them looking white as fuck? And they gonna give you that, this aren't real Egyptians. Look, they wasn't no nigga. I mean, they wasn't black. And then they want you to think on all the murals, they were lighting the pictures purposely, especially when it came to a lot of the unification battles that Nubia and Egypt had. And they always think, well, they going to conquer the Nubians and subdue the Nubians. No, they were the same people. That's the whole thing they don't want to tell you about, that the Nubians to the south and the Egyptians or Kemites were the same people. They were the same people, same ethnicity, all that shit, but they want you to think that somehow the Nubians were getting conquered by the Egyptians. There are the intellectual dishonesty shit that Chaka Diop destroyed those myths, and they still want to keep on trying to push this Eurocentric Arab image of the people of Egypt. But I'm gonna tell y'all, I'm gonna throw y'all a clue out here. Go look up this Egyptian brother named Hafni Mustafa. Look up that brother name. Let me say his name again. Hafni Mustafa. Go look this brother up. This brother looked like my old football coach. Back when I used to play football. He looked like my old football coach named Coach Ford. He an Egyptian, stock Egyptian. They consider themselves Muslim first by religion, race later. They believe themselves as Muslim. Well, this brother looked phenotypically like the typical stock African. He looked like an African. He could pass for an African American. But he eat Egypt. Matter of fact, I think his wife is African American. He married a black African American wife, so-called African American wife. Cause I don't think we African American. I think we, like I said, I know we Aborigines. But I'm breaking this shit down. This brother said they tried to force him to classify himself as white because these white people have a problem with this man being how he looked, being black, a stock Egyptian. So they told him to call himself Caucasian. Now you got this black man who's from Egypt that white folks try to tell him to call himself Caucasian because they don't want black people to know that you actually got the Egyptians were black. They don't want you to know that. So they tell them, look, don't say you're black because we don't want you to have no connection with these niggas over here. These niggas are criminals. And say, these are your liberals. These are your liberals that run these art, these history. These are your liberals. Your liberals who tell these foreigners to think that they ain't nothing, they different from us. Your white liberals that sit and tell you we need the black vote. These ain't your conservatives. Conservatives don't give a fuck about none of that shit. But your liberals do. And your liberals, like I keep telling you niggas, your liberals ain't no different than those conservatives. So they told this brother to say he called himself white. He didn't know this brother about my complexion. Well, when I had her on top of my head, hair was just as woolly as mine. The brother could be a family member in any black family. He could be a family member. But they told him to say that he white. This is how white people try to keep the lies and shit going on. They can't tell the truth for the life of them. And the funny and sad thing is, black people picked up a lot of the habits from these white folks. All the habits that black people do, you pick it up from this white man. All your thieving, lying, stealing, all your habits we picked up from him. So if you want to talk about niggas are lying, they're thieves and this and that, well, look who we learned it from, motherfucker. Learned it from the best teachers of all. The biggest murderers and cutthroats of them all. You, Mr. White Man. And you still lying about history today. You gotta lie, you can't tell the truth to save your ass. And the funny thing is, black people learn all our shit from you. That's why black people learn how to lie, how to steal, how to cheat, how to keep. We learned it from you.